They told you that you were ordinary, that your story was just another whisper in the wind, destined to be forgotten. They made you believe that your voice didn't matter, that your dreams were too big for a world that worships smallness. But what if I told you, no, what if you finally realized that everything they ever told you about yourself was a lie? What if the doubts, the fears, the guilt you've carried for years were nothing more than chains forged by hands that never wanted to see you rise? What if the truth, the raw and untamed truth, is that you were never meant to be silent, never meant to be invisible, never meant to fade into the background? What if your story, the one they tried to erase, was the very thing that would change the world? The clock is ticking. The pages of your life are turning, with or without you. Every second wasted in self-doubt is a second stolen from the legacy you were meant to build. There is no tomorrow for those who live in hesitation. There is no future for those who let fear dictate their fate. The urgency is now. Right now. Because every day you wait, every excuse you make, every time you tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow, you are handing over the pen of your story to someone else. And I promise you this, if you don't take control, someone else will write your ending for you. Maybe no one ever told you this before, or maybe they did, but you were too buried under self-doubt to believe it. So let me tell you again, louder this time, you were born for more. More than survival, more than struggle, more than simply existing. You were meant to shatter expectations, to break every rule they wrote to keep you small, to rise from the ashes of your past and burn so brightly that the world will never again forget your name. There is something inside you, something deeper than talent, stronger than circumstance, something so powerful that even the weight of your worst days couldn't extinguish it. You feel it, don't you? That fire, that quiet rage, that untamed hunger for something greater. It's been inside you all along, whispering to you in the silence, begging you to listen, but you buried it under fear. You silenced it with doubt. You ignored it every time you chose comfort over growth, every time you let someone else's opinion define your worth, every time you convinced yourself that you weren't ready. But tell me this, if not now, then when? If you keep waiting for the right time, you'll wake up one day and realize that time was never the problem. It was you. I need you to hear me, not just listen, but hear me. Feel these words like a pulse in your veins. You are not broken. You are not a mistake. You are not too late, too lost, too damaged to change your story. Everything you have been through, every failure, every heartbreak, every night you thought you wouldn't survive, it was all fuel. The fire inside you has never been extinguished. It has only been waiting for you to finally decide to burn. This moment, right here, is where it begins. The awakening. The moment you stop looking for permission. The moment you stop waiting for someone to save you. No one is coming. No one is going to fight for your story the way you need to fight for it. And that is terrifying, isn't it? The realization that it has always been you. That you are the hero you've been waiting for. But it's also the most powerful truth you will ever know. Because if you are the only one who can save yourself, then that means you are also the only one who can stop yourself. And I refuse to let you stop here. So what will you do? Keep waiting? Keep doubting? Keep letting fear convince you that you aren't ready? Or will you finally take the pen and write the legacy they'll never erase? Because this is your moment, and I'm not letting you leave without claiming it. They built a world where you were never meant to rise, a world that taught you to shrink, to make yourself small, to fold your dreams neatly and tuck them away where no one could see them. They whispered in your ear before you were old enough to understand, filling your mind with limits, with rules, with reasons why you should never reach too high, never want too much, never believe in the impossible. They told you that success was for others, that greatness was reserved for the chosen few, that you were just another face in the crowd, another number in the system, another soul to be forgotten in the passing of time. And you believed them, because how could you not? When the world around you seemed to confirm every lie, when every failure became proof of your unworthiness, when every time you tried to rise, something or someone was there to pull you back down. You were conditioned to doubt yourself before you even knew who you were, conditioned to carry the weight of every expectation placed upon you, conditioned to see yourself through the lens of everyone who underestimated you. Think back. How many times have you held yourself back, not because you weren't capable, but because someone else convinced you that you weren't? How many dreams have you buried because the world told you they were too unrealistic? How many times have you looked in the mirror and seen not a warrior, not a leader, not a force of nature, but a reflection of every mistake you've ever made? But tell me this, whose voice is it that you hear when you doubt yourself? Because that voice was never yours to begin with. That voice, the one that says you're not enough, the one that tells you to stay where you are, the one that whispers that you will never be more than what you've been, it was planted in you. by a world that profits off your insecurity, by people who feared your potential, by the past that tried to chain you to a version of yourself that no longer exists. And yet, you still carry it, the weight of the past, the memories that haunt you when the night is too quiet, when the world slows down just enough for the thoughts to creep in. The betrayals, the failures, the wounds that never fully healed. You've learned to live with them, to move forward without truly letting them go, but make no mistake, they are still there. Wrapped around your heart, woven into the fabric of who you are. Some days the weight feels unbearable. Some days it feels like you are walking through a storm you will never escape. You carry the guilt of the things you wish you had done differently, the shame of the moments when you weren't strong enough, the chains of expectations that were never yours to bear. They told you to move on, to forget, to heal. But how do you heal from wounds that no one ever acknowledged? How do you move on from a past that still echoes in every step you take? And then there was that moment. The moment you almost gave up. You know the one. The night when the silence felt heavier than the pain. The day when you looked at yourself and saw nothing but failure. The moment when you thought, this is it. This is where the story ends. This is where I break. But listen to me. You didn't. You are still here. Despite the weight, despite the past, despite every moment that should have destroyed you, you are still here. And that is no accident. Because buried beneath the pain, beneath the doubt, beneath the years of believing you were not enough, there is something else, something they never told you about, something they tried to keep hidden from you, the truth. And the truth is this: you were never meant to stay broken. You were never meant to be trapped in your past. You were never meant to carry the weight of a world that was never built for you to win. The fact that you are still standing means that something inside you refused to surrender. Something inside you fought back, even when you didn't realize it. And that something? It's your power. The same power they tried to make you forget. The same power they buried under doubt, under pain, under a lifetime of being told that you weren't meant to rise. It has been waiting for you to finally see it. So tell me, are you ready? Are you ready to let go of the weight of a past that no longer serves you? Are you ready to rise from the wreckage of who you were and step into the power of who you were always meant to be? Because the past may have shaped you, but it does not define you. You do. And I promise you this, when you finally break free, when you finally claim your story as your own, when you finally decide to stop carrying the weight that was never yours to bear, they will never be able to erase you. This is where the transformation begins. They have been lurking in the shadows your entire life, hiding behind familiar faces, whispering in your ear when no one else is around. You don't see them, but you feel their presence. You don't name them, but they dictate your every move. The silent killers of dreams. They wear many disguises: fear, doubt, procrastination, comfort. They are patient, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The moment when you begin to believe in yourself. When you start to think that maybe, just maybe, you were meant for more. That's when they tighten their grip. Fear tells you it's too risky. Doubt tells you you're not good enough. Procrastination tells you there's always tomorrow. And comfort? Comfort is the deadliest of them all. Because it doesn't come with the sharp sting of failure. It comes with the slow, quiet death of potential. How many times have they won? How many times have they talked you out of chasing something that set your soul on fire? How many times have they convinced you to settle, to wait, to let someone else take the lead while you shrink into the background? You think you've been battling the world, fighting against circumstances, pushing through the obstacles that life has thrown at you. But the real enemy? It's been inside you this whole time. And it didn't start with you. No, this battle began long before you were old enough to understand it. Because the villains in your story didn't appear overnight. They were planted in you. By voices that were supposed to guide you, by people who were supposed to protect you, by a world that was never designed for you to win. Think back. Who were the first people to tell you what you couldn't do? Was it a teacher who saw you as just another student in a crowded classroom? Was it a parent who never learned how to dream for themselves, and so they taught you to fear dreaming too? Was it society with its unspoken rules and invisible ceilings, reminding you at every turn where you belonged and where you did not? Or maybe it was the relationships that broke you. The people who looked you in the eyes and made you feel small, unworthy, forgettable. Do you see it now? Do you see how carefully the seeds were planted? How the world trained you to doubt yourself before you ever had a chance to believe? And the worst part? The world profits off your insecurity. They build industries on your self-doubt. They sell you solutions to problems they created. They make billions convincing you that you need to change, that you need to fix yourself, that you need to be someone, anyone, other than who you are. They flood your mind with images of what success is supposed to look like, of what beauty is supposed to be, of what happiness should feel like. And then they tell you that you're not there yet, But if you just buy this, if you just do that, if you just wait a little longer, then maybe one day you'll be enough. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. You were already enough before they convinced you otherwise. You were already powerful before they taught you to be afraid of your own strength. And every system, every structure, every voice that ever told you to wait, to be patient, to hold back, it wasn't protecting you. It was controlling you, because hesitation is the dream thief. The lie of the right time is the greatest trick they ever played. How many dreams have died waiting for the perfect moment? How many times have you told yourself, not yet, I'm not ready, maybe when things are better? But tell me, when has the perfect moment ever come? When has life ever paused for you, made way for you, cleared a path so you could step forward without fear? Never, and it never will, because life does not wait for you to be ready. So, what are you waiting for? The right opportunity, the perfect skill set, the validation of people who never believed in you to begin with? Or is it something deeper? Is it the fear of failing, the fear that if you try and you fall, you'll prove them right? But listen to me, failure is not the enemy. Waiting is. Fear is not the enemy. Surrendering to it is. Every moment you hesitate, every time you let doubt win, every excuse you make is another day lost. And at the end of it all, when time has stolen what you can never get back, when you look at the dreams you never chased, the risks you never took, the life you never lived, you won't blame anyone else. Because deep down, you'll know. You'll know that the villains weren't your parents, or your teachers, or your past. The real villain was the mindset you accepted. The enemy was never them. It was the fear you allowed to stay, the doubt you fed, the comfort you chose over courage. So now, the question is simple. Will you keep feeding the enemy? Will you keep letting fear, doubt, and hesitation write your story for you? Or will you stand up and fight? Because the moment you decide to reclaim your power, the moment you choose to silence the voices that never belonged to you, they will never be able to erase you again. There is a place no one likes to talk about. A place buried beneath forced smiles and rehearsed answers. A place so dark, so consuming, that once you fall into it, you begin to wonder if you'll ever climb back out. It doesn't happen all at once. No, self-doubt is a slow poison. A whisper that grows into a roar, a shadow that creeps in, unnoticed at first, until one day it's the only thing you see. It starts with a single thought, a doubt, a hesitation, a quiet moment of insecurity. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe I was never meant to win. And once that door is cracked open, the flood comes rushing in. Every mistake, every failure, every moment of weakness, all of it comes back, stacking itself like stones on your shoulders. The weight of every not enough presses down on you, and suddenly you can't move. And that's when it happens, the shift. The moment when the world around you no longer feels like home. When you wake up, look in the mirror, and feel like a stranger in your own skin. When the people who once cared seem distant, and the dreams that once burned inside you feel like ghosts of a life you no longer recognize. You know this feeling, the feeling of being invisible. The moment you realize the world is moving without you, that no one is coming to save you, that the calls you don't return, the invitations you decline, the silence that has become your comfort, no one notices. The people who once checked in have stopped asking. The ones who used to matter have built their lives without you. And there you are, caught in the space between who you were and who you're supposed to become. And maybe you tell yourself it's fine, that this is just life, that people drift apart, that you've chosen solitude, that you're better off alone. But deep down, there's a part of you screaming, do you see me? Do I even exist to you anymore? But no one hears, because you've become a master at hiding. And what about the pain you never spoke about? The things you carry that no one else knows exist? The nights spent staring at the ceiling, replaying memories you wish you could erase? The betrayal that cuts so deep you stop trusting? The loss that still lingers in the quiet moments? The guilt, the shame, the regret? The things you wish you could go back and change, but never can? But here's the truth no one tells you about rock bottom. It's the most honest place you will ever be, because in the depths of despair there are no more masks. No more pretending, no more forced smiles, no more proving yourself to a world that never really saw you to begin with. It's just you and the truth, and that truth is raw. It is brutal. It is everything you've been running from. You can lie to yourself in the daylight, but when you're alone in the dark, the truth demands to be felt. The truth that you are tired, that you are lost, that you don't know how to climb out of this, that somewhere along the way, you forgot how to believe in yourself. And this is where most people stop. They stay here, in the darkness, in the silence, in the belief that this is where their story ends, that this is all life will ever be. They convinced themselves that they were never meant for more, that it's easier to stay down than to fight their way back. And the saddest part, they never realized that they had a choice. Because here, in the depths of your despair, in the loneliness, in the pain, in the weight of everything that has ever tried to break you, you are standing at a crossroads. One path leads deeper into the void. It's familiar, it's comfortable, it's easy. It's the path of surrender, of staying small, of letting the pain define you, of telling yourself that maybe you were never meant to be more than this. But the other path, it's brutal. It's uphill. It will demand everything from you. It will force you to break before it allows you to rebuild. It will require you to let go of the past, to confront the wounds you've buried, to rewrite the story you've been telling yourself. You've learned it will not be easy, but it will be worth it. Because the truth, the real truth, is that the darkness was never meant to be your home. It was meant to be your turning point. So the question is not, can you rise? The question is, will you? Because this is your moment. The moment you decide whether to let your past define you, or whether to take everything you've been through and use it as fuel. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to pull you out and realize that the only person who can save you is you. And that choice changes everything. Listen, somewhere deep inside you, beneath the weight of doubt, beneath the echoes of every time you questioned yourself, beneath the wreckage of the battles you thought you lost, there is something still burning. It may be small, barely a flicker, but it is there. The unkillable flame. You've felt it before, in the moments when the world tried to break you, yet somehow you kept moving. When the people who should have stood by you walked away, yet somehow you survived. When you thought you had nothing left, yet somehow you woke up the next day and took another breath. That fire inside you, it never died. They tried to put it out, with their words, with their expectations, with the way they told you to be realistic, to stop dreaming, to settle for the life they thought you should live. And for a while, maybe you believed them. Maybe you let them convince you that you were ordinary, that you were meant for nothing more than the cycle of existence they accepted for themselves. But then something happened. A moment. Maybe it was small, maybe it was brief, but you felt it. A resistance, a defiance, a voice inside you, too quiet at first to trust, but too powerful to ignore. A whisper that said, no, this is not where my story ends. No, I am not defined by the failures of my past. No, I will not let the world tell me who I am. And that moment, that was proof that you were made for more. Because resilience is not something you are given. It is something you are forced to become. And every time life knocked you down, every time you thought you wouldn't survive, every time the pain felt too much to carry, but you carried it anyway, you proved that you are unbreakable. Do you know the stories of those who came before you? The ones who had nothing, yet built everything. The ones who were told they would never make it, but refused to listen. The ones who were beaten by life, who were counted out, who had every reason to stay down, but rose anyway. You admire them, don't you? You look at their strength, their resilience, their fire, and you think, I wish I had that. But you do. Because what do you think has kept you alive all this time? What do you think carried you through the nights when your heart felt too heavy to keep beating? What do you think kept you moving forward, even when every part of you was screaming to give up? What do you think kept you moving forward, even when every part of you was screaming to give up? It was you. You are not weak. You are not lost. You are not just another name, another number, another life that will fade into nothing. You were never meant to be forgotten. But you must understand this. You are not your mistakes. Whatever has happened, whatever choices you regret, whatever failures still haunt you, you are not them. You are not defined by the worst thing you've ever done, nor are you doomed to repeat the cycles that broke you. You are the person who chooses what comes next. And that choice, that is your first step toward freedom. Because freedom is not in escaping the past, it's in facing it. It's in looking at every scar, every heartbreak, every moment of doubt, and saying, I see you, I honor you, but you do not control me. And once you do that, once you step into the fire instead of running from it, you will understand something powerful. They never really broke you. They tried. Oh, how they tried. But the fire never went out, and now it's time to make it roar. They told you to be silent. They told you to lower your voice, to stay in your place, to only speak when spoken to. They taught you to swallow your opinions, to shrink your presence, to never make others uncomfortable with your truth. They trained you to be agreeable, to blend in, to say what is expected instead of what is real. And you obeyed. You bit your tongue when you should have spoken. You smiled when you should have roared. You silenced yourself so the world wouldn't have to. But tell me, has that silence ever saved you? Has keeping quiet ever made the pain go away? Has staying small ever protected you from being hurt? Has lowering your voice ever made the world listen? No, because silence is not safety, it is a slow death, and the time has come to break it. You are not meant to whisper. You are not meant to fade into the background. You are not meant to be invisible. You are meant to stand, to fight, to roar so loudly that the walls built to contain you crumble beneath the weight of your voice. Because your voice, it is your power, and power is something they never wanted you to have. Because power belongs to those who have suffered. Power is carved from pain. Pain is the sharpest weapon you will ever wield. It has cut you open, but it has also shaped you. It has burned you, but it has also forged you. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, every moment you thought you would never survive, they were not breaking points. They were training grounds. You were never weak. You were in training. Every loss prepared you. Every hardship strengthened you. Every night you cried in silence. Every time you questioned your worth. Every battle you fought alone. It was never meant to destroy you. It was sharpening you. Because warriors are not born. They are made. And you, my friend, have been made in fire. But I need you to understand something. Fear does not disappear. You keep waiting for the day it won't be there. You keep thinking that strength means being fearless. You keep believing that courage is the absence of doubt. But that is a lie. The greatest warriors still feel fear. They just don't let it stop them. Fear is not your enemy. It is your compass. It is proof that you are standing at the edge of something that matters. It is a sign that you are about to step into the unknown, into something bigger than you, into something that has the power to change you forever. And that is where you are meant to be. So stop waiting for fear to leave. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting to feel ready. You will never feel ready. Because growth does not happen in comfort. Because evolution does not happen in safety. Because greatness does not wait for permission. Neither should you. Because everything you have been through, everything you have survived, everything you have ever doubted about yourself, it is your weapon. Your story, it is your greatest power. The scars you carry, the battles you've fought, the struggles you've endured, they are not things to be ashamed of. They are proof that you are still standing. Proof that you are unbreakable. Proof that you have more inside you than you ever imagined. So what will you do with it? Will you keep hiding it? Will you keep pretending that your past has no place in your future? Or will you claim it? Will you wear your story like armor? Will you let it be the weapon that destroys every doubt, every hesitation, every lie they ever told you? Because this is the truth. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not lost. You are a warrior, and it's time to fight. You've been living by a script you never wrote. A story handed to you by a world that never knew your power. A narrative crafted by the doubts of others, by the limitations of your past, by the whispers that told you who you were supposed to be. A script filled with expectations, with labels, with the weight of everything you were never meant to carry. And you followed it. You played the role. You spoke the lines. You became who they told you to be. And for a while, maybe you didn't even notice. Maybe you thought this was life. Maybe you thought this was all there was. But somewhere along the way, something inside you started to resist. Maybe it was a feeling, an ache deep in your chest, a voice you tried to ignore. Maybe it was frustration, the growing awareness that you were meant for more but had no idea how to reach it. Maybe it was exhaustion, the kind that doesn't come from working too hard, but from living too small. And now, here you are, standing at the edge of something new. But before you take the next step, you must tear up the old script, the one that says you are not enough, the one that says you are defined by your past, the one that says you must seek approval before you seek your own happiness. Burn it, because that is not your story, not anymore. This is the turning point, the moment where you decide to stop being who the world told you to be and start becoming who you were always meant to be. But listen to me, this does not mean erasing your past. It means rewriting what it means to you. It means reframing the failures, the losses, the moments that tried to break you. Because every great story has conflict. Every hero faces trials, and every legend is built in the fires of struggle. So no, your failures do not define you, but they do prepare you. You did not lose, you learned. You did not break, you built resilience. You did not fall behind, you were gathering the strength to move forward. And that changes everything, because now you are no longer the victim. You are the protagonist, the one who overcomes, the one who rises, the one who turns every setback into a comeback, every heartbreak into wisdom, every obstacle into a stepping stone. And if you still think it's too late, you're wrong. The future still belongs to you. You think you missed your chance, that the best days are behind you, that you've made too many mistakes to start over? Let me tell you something. Life does not care about your timeline. It does not care how old you are, how many times you've failed, how long you've been waiting for the right moment. Because the right moment is when you decide to begin. The pen is in your hands. The pages are blank, and the story is still yours to write. But the question is, what will you do with it? Will you keep waiting? Will you keep rereading the old chapters, reliving the pain, convincing yourself that this is all there is? Or will today be the day you decide to rise. Because transformation is not something that happens to you. It is something you choose. And this, right now, is the moment you choose it. No more excuses, no more waiting, no more asking for permission to become the person you were meant to be. The old script is gone. The new story begins now. And this time you write the ending. Your story does not end with you. Long after you take your final breath, long after your name is no longer spoken in the present tense, long after the world has moved forward, the echoes of your existence will remain. You are not just living for today, you are creating a legacy. And whether you realize it or not, whether you embrace it or ignore it, whether you choose to be intentional or let life pass you by, you will leave something behind. But the question is, what will it be? Will you leave behind hesitation, regret, dreams that never saw the light of day? Or will you leave behind proof that you lived, that you fought, that you rose, that you became something greater than the world ever expected? Because every time you rise, every time you push through the doubt, every time you step into your power, you are not just doing it for yourself. You are sending a message to those who come after you, to those who are watching you right now. Because make no mistake, someone is always watching. Maybe it's a younger version of yourself, trapped in the same darkness you once lived in, searching for proof that survival is possible. Maybe it's a stranger you will never meet, someone who will one day hear your story and find the strength to fight for their own. Maybe it's your children, your family, the next generation, who will either repeat the same cycles you broke free from, or build something greater because you showed them how. You are the ripple effect. And the waves you create with your courage, with your resilience, with your decision to live with purpose, they will reach farther than you will ever know. But here's the truth most people avoid. Breaking cycles is not just about you. It is about everything that comes after you. It is about rewriting the story for those who have not yet been born. Because pain is inherited, trauma is passed down. The wounds that were never healed in one generation become the scars of the next, until someone brave enough, someone strong enough, someone like you decides to break the chain. This is your chance to stop the cycle of self-doubt, to refuse to pass on the fear, the hesitation, the smallness that was handed to you, to end the belief that you were never meant to be great, because you are a living blueprint of resilience. Every challenge you have faced, every obstacle you have overcome, every moment you thought you would never survive, someone else is going through that right now. And when they look at you, when they see how you rose, how you fought, how you refused to let the past define you, they will know that survival is possible. They will know that transformation is real. They will know that they too can rise. And that is how you change the world. Because the future is not built by those who watch from the sidelines. It is built by those who dare to step forward. The world does not need more spectators. It does not need more people who settle for less than they deserve. It does not need more people waiting for permission to live fully. It needs warriors. It needs people who are willing to take risks, who are willing to fight for their purpose, who are willing to leave something behind that cannot be erased. And that is what you are doing. Right now, every decision you make, every action you take, every moment that you choose courage over comfort, you are writing your legacy. Not with your words, but with your life. Your life. And years from now, when someone asks about you, when they speak your name, when they tell your story, what will they say? Will they say you lived small, that you hesitated, that you played it safe? Or will they say that you were bold, that you stood for something, that you changed the course of your own destiny and in doing so changed the lives of countless others? Because this is your moment. This is your chance to leave something behind that can never be erased. And the time to start is now. This is it. The moment everything has been leading to, the point of no return. You have walked through the fire, you have seen the truth. You have faced your past, torn down the old story, stood in the presence of your own power. You have broken free from the weight that once held you down. And now you stand at the edge. One step forward and everything changes. One step back and you stay the same. But understand this, staying the same is not an option, because the comfort zone is a graveyard. It is the place where dreams go to die, the place where potential is buried beneath routine, where courage is suffocated by hesitation, where fire is extinguished by the slow, quiet death of maybe later. How many lives have been wasted waiting for the right moment? How many dreams have been killed by the fear of failure? How many people have carried their greatness to the grave, never used, never realized, never seen by the world? Will you be one of them? Will you sit in the same familiar space, surrounded by the same excuses, telling yourself the same stories about why you're not ready? Or will you burn the comfort zone to the ground and step into something greater? Because make no mistake, this is war. And the battle is not with the world. It is not with your past. It is with your fear. Fear is the only thing left standing between you and the life you were meant to live. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of stepping so far outside of who you've been that you no longer recognize yourself. But listen to me, fear is not stronger than you. Fear only wins when you let it. Fear is loud, but it is weak. It shouts, it threatens, it makes you question everything. But the moment you stand up, the moment you refuse to back down, the moment you step forward despite the shaking in your hands and the doubt in your mind, fear kneels before you. Because courage is not the absence of fear, it is moving forward in spite of it. And that fire inside you, it was never meant to be hidden. It was never meant to be kept small, to be tucked away where no one could see it. It was meant to burn so brightly that the world could not look away. You were meant to lead, to create, to inspire, to fight, to take up space and refuse to apologize for it. So now I ask you, the final question. Will you choose to rise? No more waiting, no more delaying, no more one day, because this is your moment, right now. The only thing left to do is decide. Will you let the old story win? Will you keep playing small? Will you keep waiting for permission to be great? Or will you step forward and claim everything that has always belonged to you? This is not a test. This is not a rehearsal. This is your life. And you, my friend, are ready. So go, rise, and never look back.